Hi everyone, I'm Paul from Libertygate, and today we're looking at why it's so expensive to rent in Nottingham. So why are rents getting so expensive in Nottingham? Now this is something we're getting asked more and more in recent months, and it's important to contextualise this and actually look at where Nottingham sits within the country and within the market as a whole. So Nottingham is still quite affordable when you think about it. People are on average spending around 27% of their salaries on their rent, compared to places like London where they're spending up to 44%. So that being said, Nottingham has seen some significant increases in rents across the last 12 months. In fact, prices have gone up around 5.4%, which is slightly higher than the national average. But let's take a look at why that is. There isn't any one reason as to why rents have increased over the last 12 months or so. To be honest, there's quite a few factors which have attributed to this. One of these factors is the tenant fee ban, which came in June of last year. Now, a lot of agents actually increased their prices once they couldn't charge tenants fees anymore. This was then passed on to the landlords, and in turn actually ends up coming back to the tenants in a roundabout way, as the rents have increased, so they're still effectively paying these fees. Now, in August of 2018, Nottingham City Council brought in something called selective licensing. The idea behind this is to combat rogue landlords and ensure that the quality of property on the rental market is of a much higher standard. Now, there is a cost to this. At the moment, it's £780 if you're a non-accredited landlord, or £480 if you've got an accreditation. Now that's per property. These costs were passed on to the tenants in the form of rent rises, and it's a big part of why rents have gone up over the last 18 months. Around 10 to 15 years ago, the government actually put a lot of measures in place to actively encourage people to become private landlords. What we saw in 2017 was Section 24, which was an introduction of an amendment to UK tax law. This means that the amount of tax relief landlords were receiving on private rented property was reduced to the basic rate of tax. This means with the yields being squeezed that a lot of landlords have actually increased the rents to compensate against this. This means that a lot of the accidental landlords from the last 10 to 15 years are now reconsidering their options and are now choosing to sell. Over the last 3 years, we've seen the rise of service accommodation or short-term rentals. Now, this is very different to the normal AST standards, which are 6 months or more. This means that as properties have been coming onto the market for sale, people have been buying them with a different tactic in mind, and they've been switching them to short-term accommodation. With proportionally fewer properties available to rent, this has had a big effect on supply and demand. And as supply has diminished and demand has increased, prices have risen. Finally, ending on a positive note, one of the most obvious reasons of rent rises across Nottingham is it's such a great place to live. With lots of major employers in the city, you've got 2 big universities, lots of sporting venues across the place, lots of new developments, lots of new bars, restaurants and shops springing up all the time. Nottingham really has a lot going for it, but in the end it's the demand to live here that really affects the pricing. So whether you're on the buying side or the selling side, if you'd like any more information on the property market in Nottingham, please get in touch at libertygate.co.uk.